Well, welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Join me from Fitch-Rona EMS, Jeff Dostalek. Jeff, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
What's the like, is there a phrase you guys use or short term like firms? Like what's the code word for you guys? Frems? Heading over to Frems today. Yep, got to shift over at Frems.
That's probably what it is.
All right.
For me, it's work.
Yeah.
Headed to work.
You're heading to work. I say I'm heading to Fact TV, so that's how that works. Jeff, we're gonna talk a little bit about a little bit of last year, a little bit looking forward, and everything in between today. But first and foremost, as we look back to 2021, what would be your sum up from your eyes as far as the year of Frems?
Wow. There's a lot of stuff to talk about with Frems, but time is a little bit short for us. So I would say, I would speak on behalf of Patrick today as well. It was the busiest year in the history of Fitch-Rona EMS. We did 4,184 calls last year, and that was a 20.4% increase over the previous year. And we even took out the calls. That doesn't include the calls that we actually took at the Alliant Energy Center. And as you know, we did the standby out there when they started initially doing vaccinations and the big lines. We were the ambulance provider that was out at the Alliant Energy Center. And we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 or so calls out there that we took care of. So I think the biggest takeaway for both of us and for the service in general is the fact that it was an extremely busy year across the board. Just looking here, we had 1 month, which was January of last year, where we did 299 calls. And we thought, oh, that's an 8% decrease over the prior year. And then from that point on, it just kind of skyrocketed. And as of, I think the biggest month we had was in September, where we had a 50% increase over the year before. So there wasn't a month that we were under 300 calls for the remaining of the year from February to December. So crazy year all around for a lot of reasons, but call volume was certainly one of them.
So it was basically another full year into the pandemic, if you will. What are some of the challenges that Fitch-Rona is still facing when it comes to the pandemic and the ambulance service?
So we're still taking all of the precautions. So the biggest concern for us now is making sure that staff isn't complacent and wearing PPE and things like that. It's a big challenge for us. I shouldn't say big, it's a challenge for us. We're fortunate enough that we can get that PPE, which we weren't able to get initially. So we had to do some conservation on our N95s and our KN95s and our surgical masks. That doesn't seem to be as big of an issue for us now. Staff is very aware of the calls that we go on and the potential for catching COVID. So they take all the precautions that they can. I think they do an excellent job at making sure we're triaging those patients appropriately. And we went through the process of buying PAPRs, the air purifying system that if you watch the news in UW, and they're in there. So we bought PAPRs for each of the ambulances, so crews have the option of putting a PAPR on if they want to, and some take us up on that and some don't. But I think the biggest challenge is making sure that our staff stays healthy, that we manage our staff if they do happen to come down with COVID or family members do, that we try to manage that appropriately so that they are better and they can come back to work and be healthy. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing we have going forward for us. And then managing call volume, I can talk now into January where we're 12 days in and we're well into the 150s for calls already. So I think those two big things, those two things will be the biggest challenge.
I think going into the mental health of the medics and the staff, how are they holding up with all that? Because you're dealing with a pandemic on the forefront. The backside, you're dealing with twice as many calls and I mean, so how is everybody holding up on that front?
Yeah, I think for the most part, everybody's doing well. We try to do check-ins. We encourage them to use our employee assistance program that's out there. And, outside of just pure call volume, the pandemic, they have families that they all have to look after as well. And then the acuity level of some of the calls has been pretty high. I mean, a lot of stuff that you see in the news, we've had, we've been out on. So we have to, there's a lot to manage in what we do. And while sometimes I don't, we don't do, each ambulance doesn't do 30 calls a day, and we're not, getting our butts handed to us that way. We do have a lot of high acuity calls. We do wander out into the county to help out with paramedic intercepts and so forth. And usually those are high acuity calls. So I think the staff is doing well. And certainly we encourage them if they need to reach out to do that so that we can keep them healthy. That's our focus.
Looking back at the call volume, is there things that we need to do better on education? Is it just I don't necessarily just going to say, is it all COVID? Certainly we don't have time to break down every call that's out there. Sure. But as a community and working together, we're all in this together. What can we do as a community to keep safe during this time and still make sure you guys are there to help us out?
Sure. If I took a look at calls for service last year, classified as sick person, that would be the number one, at least through December, and falls are the two biggest ones. So I would say as a community, just try to stay healthy. There's all kinds of political bandwagons on vaccinations and mask wearing and all of that stuff, and certainly that's something we're not going to talk about. But I think that the biggest thing people can do is try to stay healthy. Realize that sometimes going to the emergency room is not going to get you into the hospital and may not get you treatment any faster. Obviously, if you have major medical issues, that's what the ambulance is for. And just being safe. Paying attention to driving, pay attention. We talked earlier about, slips and falls on ice and all that kind of stuff, just being safe when it comes to that kind of stuff. I wish we could, Patrick and I, when we set our goals up for 2022, talked about the community paramedic program and community outreach. And, for a couple of reasons, COVID being one of them, and staffing and, kind of our bandwidth as two managers, that we'll have to limit some of that this year. But certainly if somebody has any questions, they can reach out to us and we'll try to answer them. But just generally just being safe and paying attention to your health. I mean, it's all easy things to say. I'm not the one that is perfect at that either, but those things would certainly help. And don't delay. Like, some people, and I don't want people to think, don't delay when you have a chest pain and a shortness of breath and that kind of stuff, because we have seen patients that, have died, and family members that said, well, he's had chest pain for, 3 days, but he was afraid to go into the hospital because of COVID, or you guys were busy or whatever. Just call. We'll go. That's what we're here for.
That was what I was just going to comment on, Jeff, that by no means, we are in this together, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to be there and helping together. I don't think it's, knock on wood, we haven't gotten to that point yet of, while it's busy in all communities, certainly with EMS, but, you are all working together as a county too for EMS services. So it's working well, but it's definitely staying busy. Jeff, I hate to put a stop right there, but certainly we'll continue the talk throughout the year. And Happy New Year to you and to Patrick. And please stay safe out there. Tell the staff hi, and thank you so much for the update.
Thank you for bringing us on and always pushing us forward and making us look good.
Well, I don't know about looking good. I mean, we got to get me off the show. Then you'll be a star. All right.
We appreciate it.
You betcha. We'll talk soon. Jeff Dostalek, Fitch-Rona EMS. Check out their Facebook and I almost said YouTube. We put
Twitter,
stuff on
Instagram,
YouTube, Twitter, website. They're all out there, and you can stay up to date on what's going on, and we'll check back with them next month. Take a quick break. More to come. You're watching TF.